We are here with Saleh. They play Cal on Sex Education. I hope you guys watched this weekend. I don't know, did it seem like everyone watched this weekend?
This was drawn in 1985, and this lovely little script right here, 1990. I mean, we weren't even born then. You're trying to paint over like it's nothing.
Maybe we shouldn't do this.
Well, you're head boy, right? If you really care, you should make your case.
Yeah, it was actually really day that the series completely came out, or the season came out. There were hella comments, just like spoilers on spoilers in my first post that I posted, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't think people were gonna watch it that immediately because it's a long show. It was like 8 episodes for the 3rd season. So
No, and it goes by really quickly. I remember when I was watching, I was like, oh wait, I forgot that this is like an hour-long show.
Yeah.
And I forgot that it was the 3rd season too. I was like, I thought of like, well, I've been through so much with these kids. But once again, welcome to Scene Sealers. I think to start off, since we like to introduce our audience to some of the people that they've been introduced to in the shows they love. If you could tell me a little bit about yourself, Dua, what was your journey as a professional artist before the show, maybe?
Yeah. My name is Saleh. I was just cast as Cal in season 3 of Sex Education. I was a non-binary student who, I don't know, is like chill. They're a skater, they're a stoner, they're a really cool person, and I feel like I would have along with them when I was in high school. But me as an artist, I started actually out, at least publicly, the art was poetry, and that's how I got the small amount of fame that I got within respective art worlds. And then I became a musician, mainly because I leaked my own songs and too many people found out about it. And then I got pushed into the music industry. And then with Sex Ed, they actually reached out because of all the music that I was doing. I was getting a lot of traction as an artist because I highlight the fact that I'm non-binary, because I care about that part of my identity. And I think it's important for my communities to see that. So their research to find a non-binary that could reflect that really well. So music created because of that, because it led me to such a wonderful opportunity. And with Sex with Netflix, I'm very blessed, very humbled by all the blessings.
That's amazing. And were you a big fan of the show beforehand? Yeah.
I actually hadn't watched the show before. I was nervous and I felt too embarrassed to watch a show. I thought it was a show for youth. I'm an adult, but I binged it right before I auditioned, or before they asked me to audition, or right after they asked me to audition, to figure out what the show was about. And honestly, I'm not even saying this just because I'm on the show. It's one of the best shows that I've ever watched. And it has some of the most complex and diverse and thoughtful and careful representation of different communities that I've never seen represented. I haven't seen people talk about the issues that they bring up, or have such explicit care for queerness or transness, or talking about things that people experience vaginismus. I actually don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. I learned that through the show. And talk about asexuality, which a lot of people within my community are. So I was just oh, this is really cool. It's one of the best shows I've watched, and one of the most thoughtful shows that I've watched. And it's really cool that they have 2 non-binary people on this show, really transformative, progressive, and revolutionary. Really cool.
Yeah.
So Layla's a good NB, and I'm a bad one. Is that right?
I don't understand your slang.
NB, non-binary person.
And did it feel sort of beforehand that you were checking for acting roles at all? Because I believe you have some acting experience. Or was it oh, this came to me and it's such a good opportunity to make a point of this being quote unquote my major acting debut?
This is the first big acting role that I've ever done. I did underground theater in Minneapolis, just talking about my experiences with transness and queerness and being Sudani and being Muslim, just all the things that make me who I am. But it was all like darker, like kind of like I did a lot of horror theater, like I don't know, um, like stuff that was like about trauma, and I think
Hmm.
it challenged me because it's like a lot of it is comedy and a lot of it is like sentimental about like youth and like teenage awkwardness, and it made me think like my like the darkness that sometimes comes into my mind because of like trauma and stuff, and it made me think about like um I don't know who Cal is and embodying a outside of like my own stuff.
Yeah. And I think too, a great thing, like you said, it's the best part I think of sex education is that it's a show for teens that adults can enjoy, but for the teens watching it, it does like we see the plot is about like teens not getting the right sex education. And like you said, this opens up a lot of doors. But I want to know, were you a fan of teen shows at all beforehand? Are there any that you identified with or enjoyed maybe binging?
I love like youth content just in general. Like I read a lot of young adult novels like, growing up, and also like sometimes I frequent some of the ones that I used to read. But the shows that I watch now, I watch a lot of animation and anime. I'm not gonna lie, so I'm not gonna mainly watch like teen content because I will like I don't know. I'm like starting Mob Psycho soon, which is like an anime. And I think one of my favorite shows on Netflix right now is Kipo. Um, and that's like uh, it's like about I think probably middle schoolers. It's like an animation show. It's really interesting.
I think that's a great point because I feel like anime doesn't get credit. I remember watching like Dragon Ball Z growing up and being like, wow, this just like totally shifted my idea of the afterlife and like all these deep sort of things. Even though it's like a 12-year-old kid like me, I guess Goku and Dragon Ball is like,
Oh, it's deep stuff. It's like I feel like that's what I like sought out when I was like reading like a bunch of manga when I was younger. And also I feel like it helps us like find like ourselves in ways that are more imaginative. Like so you probably
mhm.
found yourself thinking about it, like ways that you embody power like through Goku, or at least that's how I was thinking when I was watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid. Like I was like, how can I level up? Like how can I strengthen up? How can I like get to the next level of like my most like um I don't know powerful being in essence and stuff like that. And I think it, like that's why I love anime and manga so much.
Nice. And then going back to sex education a little bit, did you have a lot of input on Cal going in, or did they already kind of lay a lot of the groundwork for who Cal is?
Yeah, I think they were really thoughtful and they were really like kind to me. So like they checked in with me, but they had already had like non-binary consultants both like, on set and in the writers' rooms, like telling them, "Hey, this is what you should do, or maybe reword this in this way. Make sure to like not use this like not like pronouns like they them and she her. Like make sure you're not like gendering people in different ways outside of just like what we call each other."
We don't fit into the description of boy or girl, so where are we supposed to go?
You can both go in the girls' line.
But I'm not a girl.
They'll be discussing female anatomy in this class, which I'm sure will be helpful for you.
Right, so we're supposed to go to the vagina line or the penis line. Is that what you're saying?
So I think it was really cool. I think the one thing that I like was talking to them about most is about how's queerness and how queerness is a big part of a lot of non-binary people's like identity. And for me, it's like a part of who I am because of like my specific transness. Hal is non-binary. I don't know if they're trans, but I know like they, you know what I mean? They're experiencing things with gender. Um, so I think it was really nice of them to do that and to check in with me and to like even ask me because I don't none of the other actors that I know who are trans have ever been asked that in their shows. So I feel really blessed. I think the PR, like the producers were absolutely amazing. They're taking care of like the LGBTQIA plus community just in general, just like with their storytelling. Eric and Adam and Ola and Lily and so many other of the other like queer people and trans people are
Yeah,
just they have depicted in the past.
yeah. I think to that end, when we meet Cal, it's in a moment of discomfort having to change in the abandoned bathroom. Did the show make you feel comfortable telling the more difficult parts of Cal's story? And did you have intimacy coordinators on hand sort of helping out with that, or anyone else sort of consulting?
Yeah, they definitely had both an intimacy coordinator and also they had non-binary consultants. So they were there especially for like the binding scenes with me when the actor Robin who played Layla, like they were there to check in with both of us to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, are there any boundaries that need to be set? Like, is there anything that you need for your body, or like, is there anything that like on set that needs to be done?
You're glowing. Truly, yeah. All right, so that binder is designed for safer chest compression. You might be tempted to wear 2 binders or wear a size smaller, but you shouldn't. Yeah. How does it feel?
It feels so much better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
And also the producers were really good at like I don't know. When you're doing intimacy scenes, you don't want too many distractions.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I was thinking about was like my pronouns. I didn't want to be distracted by being misgendered or anything. So they made sure that everybody was really like aware of like my pronouns, like doing the intimacy scenes, so that I wouldn't be distracted when I'm already like, you know, anxious about like doing intimacy stuff.
Cal really takes liking to Jackson. How was building that dynamic that was sort of starts off as a friendship? We'll say that.
Whoa!
Hey.
Oh. Okay, I'm in your way, obviously.
It's okay. After you, good human.
Well, yeah, initially I think in the script they had Cal was like, oh, I had seen you like performing in your in the play, and that's like what initially like brought interest like of Cal to Jackson, being like, oh, this person seems cool, like this weird like alien play. I'm really into this like reimagination of Romeo and Juliet. And he was vulnerable enough to do that, but I don't think they actually made the final cut. So I think like it was just like the meet cute, like they initially had the oh my god, like we're like on the same spiritual playing field or something. Like we both like have like this spiritual connection that often friends have when we meet them. Like when I first meet my friends, I have this warm feeling. And sometimes people can confuse that for you know what I mean? You feel good when you meet somebody that you're like, oh, I like, feel it. Like I'm supposed to be here with you. And they both had that with each other. I think like what may have caused some tension was just like access to language and access to understanding about gender.
I think your cishet brain maybe exploded a bit.
I think too, I think my interpretation of it as well, sort of from my own experience, is that when they meet each other, it's a little bit of like, oh, another black kid at the school. We gotta like at least test each other out, link up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think we see Cal with Eric that much, but of course we see Cal around Jackson, around the other head student. And so that was just like on another identity level. I'm like, that makes sense. Cal doesn't need to wear like their heart on their sleeve immediately.
I definitely was thinking, well, I just like thought that like going into the show, I was like, oh my God, they have so many like people of color on the actual show. Like it doesn't really happen that often in mainstream media, especially for a show that went #1 on Netflix in the US. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. And yeah, having that like, hey, another black kid at school, like obviously that's probably something that went through their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And then you've had some really fun scenes in the show. What was it like going on the mushroom trip with Jackson? And do you think the moment they share on the bus is like mushroom induced, or is it like bringing the truth out of their hearts? Or
I think it's a combination of both, probably. It's like they probably have these feelings and they're probably too scared to talk about like things, or like, I don't know. It's like awkward, like having a crush just in general. And it's awkward, like wanting to kiss somebody and not knowing how to do that. But yeah, I think the shrooms may have contributed at least to like the excitement before the end, like before they went back and relaxed, like in the back of the bus.
This door leads to another portal.
I feel like that's sort of like a incredibly fun acting experience. I think the other wild one is, of course, Cal crawling through the air duct. What was that like? Was it sort of they just built like a on the ground set for you to crawl through? And then how was it finally like coming through this, like creating that sort of like, I don't know, a show-stopping moment of coming through the ceiling and getting to stick it to, I mean, quite the villainous character. Of course, the scene before that is like hard, but it's great that Cal gets that moment.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I love Jemima Kirk, who plays her. But that scene, it actually was pretty scary, like beforehand. I was like actually mad, like because I was like, oh my God, like I felt it physically in my body because she's such a good actress.
I'm left with no choice but to keep you in here for the remainder of open day.
Violation of my rights. Let me go!
Then I was like, felt like I was in the situation that Cal was in, like being thrust into that. And then the vents were actually kind of propped up higher than the ground. So you actually had to like a really weird, it looked like a, I don't know, it looked really strange coming into it. But the vents, it's like that scene reminded me of The Breakfast Club. So I was thinking a lot about that, like as I was walking through. And also it hurt like crazy. I had to have knee pads, but it's still like the metal was like, tearing me up. Literally, I couldn't like bend or sit down on my knees for a long time. Wow.
Oh geez. And was coming through the ceiling, was that like a stunt that you had to do, or was there like a double there?
No, I did all of my stunts, to be honest. I fell through legitimately. Anything you asked. They did have stunt coordinators who were really helpful, and helped to coordinate everything and choreograph everything. It was really helpful because I would not have been able to do it on my own, but it was fun. Yeah, fun, a little scary, but
That's good to hear. I definitely would want to be able to drop through the ceiling and like have that moment, but I would want to know how to like correctly do it. But before we get into audience questions, I think the one thing I wanted to return to was what was it like making sure to have that moment where Cal talks to Jackson and says, just so you know, are you comfortable with this being a queer relationship? Because I think that's something that we don't necessarily think about. And of course, Jackson seems very tolerant, of course, comes from a family with two moms. But I think it kind of captures that point of like, if there's a residual like cis image of me, like let's shatter this because this is who I am.
yeah. I think it was just like something that was necessary. I was themselves and like also for like, making sure that there's authenticity and truth and like knowing like where each person is in terms of like understanding what the dynamics of this like just like friendship and also a relationship would be. So it's really necessary, and I think it's a conversation that a lot of like non-binary people have with their partners if their partners are cis, or like if their partners don't know about like being non-binary or what non-binary entails for that specific person. So I think it's like it was really beautiful to see that on screen because I know a lot of people who have had to like talk through that stuff. Or
High Vibrational Queer, great name. What was the atmosphere on set like?
Everyone was super sweet. I was like kind of overwhelmed by how nice and kind everybody was, and everybody's really attentive and like people would get like just like small acts of kindness, like they would like get coffee for each other, like at like cast members would get like coffee for like crew members or like makeup artists and stuff like that, just like taking care of each other, being sweet to each other. They were very sure to affirm me and my gender, like they were very sure to like check in with me, like even if they didn't really understand or if like they misgendered themselves, like they would stop themselves, or I would say, hey, like you misgendered me, and they would like instantly reframe it and like instantly like make sure to affirm me in like the next sentence. You know what I mean? Like everybody was offered me so much advice. Like I especially got a lot of advice from certain people like Jemima Kirk, like so sweet, and like offered me advice about like how to kind of remove yourself from your character, or to how to best position yourself like on set so that you're thinking in the mindset of your character. Like method acting, or
Yeah.
even like I actually learned this in college, but like the Meisner technique, she just made me think about that more so than anything else. It was like just one acting class. I didn't go to school for acting or anything.
But I think it's especially good to hear that Jemima was helpful because that's definitely an adversarial relationship on the show. Grace Bailey asks, what advice would you give to people on how to deal with being misgendered in public?
Yeah, I think that just depends on each person and like how safe they feel in the environment that they're in. Because some people don't want to speak up because if they like talk about them being misgendered, then they might be put in a situation that might be physically dangerous for them, might socially isolate in ways like from their family or from like their academic scenario. So I don't want to like say anything that's too bad, but I think for me, something that I do is I assert myself in any scenario because I feel like for me, like at my core, what I need to protect is my spirit. And
Yeah.
so be misgendered. And so I will say something because I'm protecting myself. Or
Yeah.
sometimes because like I'm too tired and I need to take care of myself like in that way. And you know what I mean? I'll go home and like watch something with a trans character in it or something like that so that it makes me feel better about myself. So it just depends on the person. But honestly, like speaking up for yourself feels good. And also like having people who you know can check other people for you so you don't have to be exhausted all the time from like people not to misgender you. I think that can be
Yeah.
very
Yeah. By the way, I did want to shout out like speaking of other iconic characters that you would maybe watch, Hunter Schafer was in the room a little bit earlier, so shout out to Hunter. This question's from Kiki is a little weird. What was your favorite scene to film?
My favorite scene, honestly, the shroom stuff. Like the exploding cereal in our faces. Me and Kedar, who played Jackson, were honest. It like kind of hurt because some of it got in our eye, but it was just so colorful that like vibrating from like all of the. I don't know. Maybe I just like colors a lot, but just having all the colors around me and the bursting energy, and it smelled really nice because it was like Indian and cereal. So that was nice. And like we were spinning around for like hella long.
Yeah. I think the amazing thing too about that is like not only do you get to do a shroom scene, but it's a trip to France as well. So
Exactly. Yeah. We is for wait, I probably shouldn't have said that.
but getting a little bit to like the end of the season, do you want to see Callum Jackson give it another go?
I don't know. I feel like I feel like I don't want to say anything because I feel like the writers are good at doing that. I think as a queer person, it might be cool to see Al in a situation or like have a crush on a queer person who like may have an understanding of their queerness or just like
Yeah.
somebody understanding of what non-binary means. Just like so they don't have to be gendered by like their, love interest. That would be really cool for me. But I honestly I think the bond that Jackson and Cal had together was really tremendous. So I like if they were to continue, I honestly would still like offer it. I'd be like, yeah, like if they could work it out, it'd be cool. But I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems like they set their boundaries.
I like the open-ended ofness because it's like they're both sort of mutually agreeing that they're still on their own journeys and have to figure things out. Another question I had is like you grew up within the Muslim faith, right? Has it been established whether or not Cal is Muslim? Is that something that you would want to explore on the show in the future?
I mean, I'm always down to have my communities represented. So like if they were, but
Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of nebulously black, like ambiguously black, so that it could be like more. I actually don't know. Let me not talk. Let me just be quiet. Yeah.
I personally think it's cool because it's a UK show that works in a lot of American culture, and I think in terms of Muslim identity, it's something that like it's two different experiences, but that the US and the UK can relate to. And so maybe season 4. Let's see if we have one. Okay, did not mean to. I mean, Kien in Ecuador. Fair question. But I wanted to end with one more fan question. Yeah, I think this is great. So this is It's Charlotte. We're going to end on how do you think your role in sex education has had an impact on your life? Or to add to that, have you learned anything from playing Cal?
Yeah, it's made a tremendous impact on me. Well, one, just because like being challenged outside of my own mind, like having a different brain to dissect, creating um I don't know, creating a character Bible for Cal and like being imaginative in that way, also staying true to the script, what the writers and what the director have in mind for Cal. I think that like has made me think a lot about art in different ways that I wouldn't necessarily have before. And I think also it's like made a tremendous impact because I'm thinking about like how much of a wide range like the show like or broad range the show has in terms of reach. Like there's so many people, so many trans people that like this will impact, and so many non-binary people this will impact, so many queer people this will impact, and also like the other identities that I hold, just like me as a person separate from Cal, me being Muslim, me being Black, me being Sudani, me being you know, queer, like all of these things that encompass like me as a human being, that can be shared with the world, and that is something that other people can identify with. So it just makes me feel really good, and I like wake up like each morning being like, oh my, overwhelmed by how much of a blessing this is. I'm not even thinking about me. I'm just thinking about like the childhood version of me that was appreciated seeing somebody like me on screen. Like it's really humbling. It's like a lot to think. I don't know if you guys.
No, that I think that's such a perfect note to end this on. I want to thank the audience, especially everyone who asked questions. Of course, we couldn't get to all of them. And of course, I want to thank you. This has been Scene Stealers with Dua Saleh. I could not have asked for a better guest to be on our first show of the fall. And yeah, keep watching Sex Education, you guys. Sex Education, season 3, now streaming on Netflix.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate all your. I hope you have a wonderful day.